We welcome you to the Priscilla R. Tyson Cultural Arts Center for our Conversations and Coffee on this 24th day of July 2025. I'm Ellen O'Shaughnessy, coordinator of the program. Our guest artist today is Cindy Butler Rasche, painter and sculptor, celebrating the theme of ancestral journeys and a sense of place. Cindy, we're delighted to have you with us today. And I just returned from Southern California with my husband following time with family. When we arrived at the airport, we were met for the first time with a huge inside billboard at the luggage area. And it read, Columbus, an art and technology epicenter that lives to ignite local talent. Isn't that great? And it was so welcoming. And it called me all the more to the delight of being with and hosting artists here at the beloved Cultural Arts Center. Looking forward to being with you today, Cindy, and thank you for being with us. You are igniting, that's what the city's saying, artistic talent. You come to us as sculptor, painter, and mixed media artist, educated at the Columbus College of Art and Design in drawing and glass, and in New Orleans at the Newcomb College of Art at Tulane University, earning your Master of Fine Arts in glass. Cindy shares that she has moved often since 1985. For example, while living in Singapore, Cindy obtained a digital design certificate from Sessions, an online school of art and design. Her artwork has been colored by her experiences living in different cultures. Cindy shares that it is possible her interest and study of ancestry, migration, symbols, and early languages may have been brought on by living in different cultures. And your husband was an engineer and led you through and to all these places, huh? And provided for us these treats, the wonderful eat. Everybody's enjoying them. Yeah, we thank him. For Norway, for example, was a type of rock art, and New Orleans had a wild art culture and hot glass. In Singapore, Cindy learned in a high-rise looking over endless rooftops. In Dubai and Saudi Arabia, she was surrounded by both mud brick and modern architecture, big skies and vast desert spaces. Working at Northern Oklahoma College opened doors to exhibition opportunities and an excellent studio space. Workspace and art supplies were very different in all these places, and these changes drew out new ideas to pursue and to create art. Cindy's work history included several years at Ohio Bell as a graphic artist and as a teacher of glass blowing at Tulane University, teaching glass through the University College and as an adjunct instructor at Northern Oklahoma College. She also taught painting, drawing, and ceramics to all ages at community art centers in Dubai and Oklahoma. Finding a home with other artists when she relocated was sometimes quite challenging, especially before the internet. Since moving to Ohio, she has experienced a very supportive, creative community, connecting with other artists here through classes and organizations like Ohio Art League, the Dublin Area Art League, the McConnell Center, and she says, of course, the Cultural Arts Center. It's so wonderful to have you part of us. She's happy to be a permanent resident in Columbus and free to take advantage of the cultural resources that Ohio has to offer. Cindy hails Central Ohio as a great place to create art. Well, thank you for being with us. Take it away, Cindy.
How close to get this?
Huh?
It's on, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right up here?
Yeah.
Good grief. Okay. Yeah, haven't used a microphone before. This is a first. Thank you all for coming. There's plenty of food over here. Please eat. I'm going to show you slides, and I don't know if I coordinated enough to do both at once. Ellen has told you much of what I was going to say. But what I discovered was, after being here in Columbus especially, where I lived made a big difference on what I made and what it looked like and what I could do. I wanted to make glass, but I couldn't do certain things in glass, and so I switched to other media, this masonry media. But I could still paint and draw on it, which I liked. When I moved, I left behind lots of opportunities. I had a chance to exhibit at a museum in Oklahoma, and we moved to Norway the next week. The director said, "Come and see me." It's like, I can't, So anyway, all right. So let's look at some work. This is hoping to show you some of the influences of where I lived. So New Mexico, first lived in Oklahoma. So we visited New Mexico, and that left this kind of imagery in my brain. We moved to Scandinavia, and the imagery changed, and lived in Dubai and Saudi Arabia, and these came, and so on. Singapore was just rooftops. It was the most densely populated place I ever lived. There were 4 million people living on a 30 by 40 kilometer area. So that would be like inside the Beltway. You were always within this distance of people everywhere you went. We visited Australia briefly and Indonesia. And here you go with the dots that they use in their work. It just, I don't know, you absorb those influences from different places. And then now that I've been back in Ohio, a lot of it has to do with flying here in the airplane to try to find a house and move up here. So there's a lot of aerial imagery in that. I've got several different series of works. They've continued for my whole life since my interest stayed the same all my life. Not sure why that is. Maybe a failing. The first series I began in grad school was the barriers and passageways, because I hit a wall. I was trying to make big castings in glass, and my professor wanted all of the facilities for himself, so I couldn't make what I wanted. And another professor said, try this lightweight masonry medium and see if that works for you. And sure enough, it did. So I had another way to express ideas that I couldn't do in glass. Now it would be easy to do those things in glass at a big center. The medium, I have some samples over here. What is inside of these? It starts with you have to come up and probably see these, but the blue foam that's insulation in walls, and then a thin skin layer of a masonry mixed with acrylic that makes it so you can't break it.
Pass it around.
Oh yeah, can do. Yeah, can do. I hand those to you. If you bend toward the masonry layer, you won't be able to break it. The other way, it breaks instantly. Then they're reinforced with these different kinds of mesh. This holds the cement and makes it incredibly strong. It's weird. But you can have the lightest material inside, this on the outside, and you've got a strong, solid object. You can finish it. I finished this one with a stucco. It's a ground rock with acrylic mixed into the ground rocks. So that gives a really hard, permanent surface that can stand hurricane force winds, they say. I haven't tested. And then this is an indoor piece. has Japanese paper over the surface. And it's super, super lightweight. I mean, it really, truly, a pound or two. It's really light, but more fragile. This one can't take rough handling. The cement ones, they're tough as nails.
So you said that it's Japanese paper over top of it? Did you make it, or?
Oh, I did not make this paper. Sometimes I make paper if I have access, but no, I didn't. I bought the Japanese paper.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking.
I've lost.
So the two pieces up there, are those not stone?
No, they're made out of blue insulation foam with masonry over the surface. You'll come pick them up when we're done, and you can see what they're made out of.
Do it again. Do the one-hander on the big one. One of these big bulky ones, one on the right, for example.
Oh.
The big one standing up. Just pick it up. No, well, that one too. You can just kind of move it around and show us
Yeah,
it's light. Yeah. And the one next to it is even almost a one-hander, I think.
The other one is. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
you
the
get
other
like
one is.
that.
You're welcome to pick them up and see what they're like when. Yeah, that's the idea. Yeah, they should do. You should not have to think, oh, what is it made out of? You don't want that.
Your skill as an artist to make it look like it's stone, right?
Yeah, I wanted you to not think it was handmade and just think, oh, it's a piece of rock. And
I believe it's not stone, just looking at it.
oh, but they're not. Yeah, you can make them any shape. That's what's the fun part of this process. Okay, so yeah, I don't want to. Okay, so here's a big one I made. This one is 5 feet long, 4 feet high, and this is one I made in New Orleans influence, right, with all the water and the seacoast. This is the other side of it. These are what I was trying to make in glass, but I could not cast it. There was just not the knowledge in the 80s.
Sculpture or painting?
It's sculpture. It stands about this high. And
Does it have glass in it?
no, not this one. I'll show you one that does, though, in a minute.
Influenced by surrealism? How do you have those floating images in the air? What's going on with that?
That was moving from Ohio to New Orleans, where the sky was incredible. There was always like afternoon rainstorms and tropical humidity, and I'd never seen tropical clouds before, so for me, that made an impression. And then coming up to Oklahoma, living near New Mexico, there was always the wind blowing, and I kept trying to think of a way to express this. Wanted to make these in glass, but I couldn't. So it's kind of like, if it's a barrier, you can either hit the barrier, you can go through it, or you can go around it or over it. So it's just like a problem-solving idea that turned into sculpture.
Those are windows, right?
Yes. Yeah, they're actually holes, yeah. I didn't bring one of those.
Well, you got a little bit on that.
I was wondering about your shape, outside shapes. Is there any thought or sort of like happy accidents, things like, oh, this would be kind of...
Well, I don't design the exact shapes. I make the forms. I make 3 or 4 at a time, and then I put the imagery on. I fit the imagery to the shape. And sometimes I know what I'm doing. Like here, if I had to make the curtains or I had to make the doorway, I planned that. Because using that stiff metal mesh, you got to plan ahead. But on these, I tended to build them and then paint them. This one was a different one, but I had a boat that matched what I wanted to do, and so that one I planned.
Are you putting on a thick layer and then carving into it, or building layer by
Thin layer, as thin as possible, really. With the cement that's mixed up with the cement that's mixed up with the polymer, it's super, super strong, and you want to keep it really thin, otherwise it won't cure properly, it'll crack.
First, and then you.
I shaped the foam the way I want it, then I put the thin layer on, and with the metal, with the mesh. And for the freestanding sculptures like these, I made them out of the metal mesh, which is over here. It's really sharp, but you can see it.
When you build them up, you put on more mesh as you go?
I cut the mesh into little pieces for the curves. Does that But on the flat surfaces, you only need one layer.
Well, what do you paint on then? What are you painting on? Is this acrylic paint?
It's acrylic. I found that the acrylic, yeah, I put a coat of gesso. First, I seal it with a shellac, a pigmented shellac, and then gesso, and then I can use it just like any artwork. Draw or paint on it, either one. Yeah.
Different cultures. What particular cultures are these from as far as the imagery?
Good question. This one. Oh, great. Okay, yeah, the one on the right, the imagery is pretty close to what I had seen in New Mexico, camping, carved on the rocks or painted on the rocks. The one on the left is from Newgrange. The design is from Newgrange in Ireland. And it's in a passage temple, like a passage mound, and you pass through it, and in the center there's a hole in the ceiling like a skylight. And one time of year when the sun is at a certain point, it shines right into Newgrange, right inside, and lights up the chamber. It's real impressive to see. I have seen it on video. So that's what that one is about. Here, I have too many. Here's more from New Mexico. Oops. This one is more surreal. I have explored some more surreal ideas. This came to me once in the midst of a really horrible headache, a really horrible migraine. And I was working on this, and those people just came. It's the only time in my life I've ever done something that was just, I don't know, from my heart, in not intellectual. Yeah.
Hold up now. Okay. They came to you. Did you see them like 3D in front of you, like, or just in your mind? Your mind's eye.
Oh, boy. That's a hard question. It felt like something was looming. Like there was some sort of spiritual thing coming up and looming. And it's never happened again. Okay, so those are both sides.
Titles for those? Titles for those headaches?
Yeah, on the bottom is the titles. This is called Canyon Walls. This one does have glass, has a cast glass stairway and window built into it.
And how big are these?
Most of these are about 28 or 30 inches long and about 22 high. So they're handleable. I needed to be able to ship them and load them in and out of the car. I explored different colors, different surfaces. This one's got a really rough surface and weighs a ton. This is one from the McConnell Center show. It's a folding screen with imagery. So after I did those kind of works for a while, I began to see more signs and symbols when I was out in New Mexico or traveling around. So these signs and symbols started to occur in two-dimensional artwork. Yeah?
You ever taught these classes? You ever thought about teaching classes? Or you taught classes?
I taught.
Not here to Cultural Arts Center.
But not here. I have not taught here, no. So this is influenced, these two are influenced by the dots of Australia and Indonesia, but this one has imagery from two symbols from Norway that were carved in rocks that I saw. And I think maybe they're kinds of sleds for carrying things, but I'm not certain. There was no explanation on the rock.
Have symbolic meaning themselves?
No, they were just beautiful, and once I they were persuasive, I wanted to try it. And it may be cultural appropriation, I don't know. I worried about that. These are a couple of drawings from the same subject matter. This is a river signs, a piece that had to do with things I picked up in Oklahoma on the ground. And these pieces, which I thought might have been Native American pottery, one of my students pointed out that, gosh, that looks just like when my dad scrapes up a linoleum floor. And the black lines are actually the adhesive from the linoleum floor. Oh, I was crushed. again, he was in my class, and I was telling him, look at these things I found last weekend, you know. Oh, I was so embarrassed.
And that for the year?
No, I told him thank you, because it would have been too good to be true. And here's a couple that have to do with African imagery. When my parents passed away, I inherited their African art collection. And one of the symbols that I kept seeing was this figures supporting other figures. So these are the heads, you know, the legs and arms, and you sort of are building on your ancestors. And this idea is really important to me now. I'm impressed. And this is my one trailing spouse. This was my life, where every 3 to 5 years we went to another continent, another culture, another language, and I left behind my good jobs and everything I had. So spouse is here, I'm here. This is the only one like this personal imagery that you'll see. Except, there we go. Now, these are from when I studied with Dana Grubb, who's in some of our painting classes here. And she did oil and cold wax painting. And she taught me about that with a grant, through a grant from the Arts Council. And, okay, so some of these symbols will be on the rocks. These two are, whoops, that got fast. These two are quite large. They're about this tall. I think this one is maybe 55 or 60 inches, and that one's about 4 feet tall. So those are big, and those are nice because when you stand in front of them, it's kind of like standing in front of a rock wall. They're big enough that you get the sense of rock wall rather than the sense of, oh, it's an artwork. These are smaller. These two have slightly more contemporary uses of the symbols. This was made in 1 year, and I incorporated things that were happening in the world at the time, like the Katrina flood. We went and climbed up Krakatoa, which was erupting a little bit, and it was really scary. They launched a new rocket, and my child entered college, and I had time to work. So this was me going back to work. Whoop, again, I'm hitting it too hard. One, there we go. This one was in Norway, and it's called Winter Night Nordic Light. It was weird. In the wintertime, the sun would just come up, it would crack over the horizon and go back down about 2 or 3 hours later. It was so dark. The lights were on, you know, most of the hours of the day and night. And the symbols came from, rock art in Norway. This is also Norwegian. Most of the symbols were from rocks there as well. The one on the right, same. Ekeberg Heights was not far from where we were in Oslo. And it was right on the coast. And those are, you know, Norwegian symbols.
Able to find out the meaning of the symbols?
No, I wish. No, there's not consensus on a lot of the symbols. I've tried. I've researched. I have a stack of books this high at home trying to learn about this.
On the Norway stuff, did you show those, exhibit those in that region?
No, because I didn't have the materials to work in Norway, so I did drawings and and things like that. And then when I came back, and I had big studio space at Northern Oklahoma College, and the students were all on holiday, I could spread out and use the whole building, you know, the whole. And so I made these then. I started making those then.
Just curious, since you traveled quite a bit around the different world, is there any difference in light? I mean, as far as colors, lights, or something that strikes you at different areas of the...
Yeah, you'll see the difference in my paintings from when I was depressed and getting pulled from place to place to coming to Ohio. It was like, oh, wow, we're going to stay in one place, you know. I get a good studio.
Recognize that when you were making the art, that you knew you were depressed and you knew to go to this color palette, for example?
I didn't choose the color palette. It was like a natural choice. These are tall, narrow ones. Same process, same subject matter. Let's see here.
Little bowl, is that like for holy water?
Ah, ooh, the boats in Norway, it is said. Oops, okay, boy, we're moving along quickly here. The boats are made of ceramic, and they represent the boats that they say that people were buried in, and they'd send them out to sea and then set them afire. And this one had a figure which I unfortunately left at home. So that's where the boats came from. This is what it looks like when I laid out one of the big walls. They're 18 and a half feet long. This one was, this is me working on it. This was 2 long walls I made, following people moving from Africa over here all the way to Southeast Asia, Indonesia, and the Americas. There was one great wave of migration. And those are symbols pulled from all those places. Each section might, Canada, it might be here, or South America. You can see some of the South American countries are here. This pig is from Sulawesi. They found him while I was working on that section. It was so exciting. I heard it on the radio, and I looked it up, and the pig from Sulawesi, they said, he's 20,000 years old in a cave. And then I kept working on it, and 2 weeks later, they had upped it to like 30,000. And by the time I gave my talk at the McConnell Center, they said, that pig is 40-something thousand years old. Just in a matter of weeks, they learned that much more by testing the soil and scrapings off of it and that kind of thing. So that fascinated me. This is Africa to Scandinavia. That's the other great migration out of Africa, was going from Central East Africa over to Scandinavia. And that populated all of Europe, and that covers the different countries on the pathway. Yeah.
Do you have much in the way of your sketchings that led up to this still?
Yeah.
You do have some of that.
Yeah.
Beautiful to look at sometimes.
Sure. Come over. Here's the installation of this at the McConnell Center. This is one of those sculptures that, that's the scale of it, if that gives you an idea.
Yeah, I'm just curious, how much do those pieces weigh? I mean, they look so massive. It's got to be surprising to people when they actually know the weights of these things.
Well, some of them are really heavy. When I first started that series, it was several years back, and I was using a different masonry product, and it was heavy. And those pieces are heavy. Some of them, the last ones, are light like these. And it's much more humane to do the lightweight for the people who hang it. This was the opening. Okay, I made a series of boats, and this is the migration that these boats took when they went around the world. This is from Wikipedia. I must give credit. This is Wikipedia's map. But they said, starting here from Africa, they're not sure whether people began here or here, but they came up out of there, and they went and peopled the world. And then these are the dates at the time that map was made. It's not current. It's probably a couple years old, and it's not perfect. But it's the general idea. So some islands were, like Australia was 50,000 years ago. They think that parts of the Americas were 12,000 years ago. So we're relative newcomers, because it took a long time to walk and boat all the way there. So I was fascinated by that.
Changed too, right? They were African to start with, or African?
We're all African.
Right. I was saying that people evolve with their environment and change. Okay, so that's important for people to understand.
Yeah.
Still humanity, but
yeah, we all had the same beginning, and that kills a lot of people to think that, I'm white, I'm not black, but no, somewhere in your genes, you're even part Neanderthal. 3% for most Europeans, between 3 and 4 or 5% maybe. So anyway, I love this map because it tells the story. These are some of the boats I made from that series that boats the carrying the things that they needed to trade back and forth. They traded salt, food, spices, corn, lumber.
I was going to ask how large, but you got it here.
Oh, the boats are about this big. I've got a baby version of it over here. These are the language boats. I also carved the lost languages, the ones that haven't been translated yet. And I can pass this one around.
You got a Rasche museum, right, somewhere, because I know some of this isn't for sale. I know you're hoarding your art somewhere.
No, I sold like a lot of it at the McConnell Center, like almost 60 pieces I sold at the McConnell Center show last summer. These are the architectural ones that I did, and I've got one more of these going right now. They take a long time to build.
Boat shapes, like when they have primitive art and they say that's like lozenges and darts and they, like this is the female and that's the male, but that shape you have as the boat is like that lozenge.
I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, it is like that shape, isn't it? And especially in these photographs where it gets perspective, twists it. These are more of the symbols on the boats. These are some of the pit-fired ones. They're primitive fired, so they're rustic looking. This is one. These dots came from deer feces that were in my forest. They burned polka dots. This one is made out of cinnamon wood. In Singapore, they had cinnamon wood powder, and you mixed it with water, and you could make things out of it. You could sculpt it.
Like the cinnamon?
It did not, and it still doesn't, but it would be cool if it did. But it's real slimy. It's like okra to work with. Okay, this is a cast hand that I made to go in one of the boats, and this is like people moving, carrying their skills with them, not just food or language, but they're carrying their skills with them. And I want to make more of these. I've got a kiln now, so I can cast glass. Okay, so the symbols developed into early languages. I don't want to bore you here. These are the paintings I did with, in Dana's course, the oil and cold wax. These are mostly 12 by 12 inches on panel. They're small. And I was not at all comfortable with the amount of control that you have with this process. You can't make skinny lines. It's really hard to do this. And
You did sell a lot of those, right? You did sell a lot of those? Small
not so many of the languages. I think it must be too esoteric. The languages are real. They are, most of them, not translated. They're from the book that I loaned Eric. This blue book here has some of them in that. They are, I heard on the way down here this morning that they're using AI to translate those lost languages, and they're making some progress, which I thought was timely.
Runes, some of these symbols, like.
Well, some of them are runes. These are Celtic numerals. These are random early language symbols, and I liked this one because if you see it in person, the value of these two colors is the same, and so it kind of blinks. It scintillates, and that was fun to make. So I've explored different colors, different designs. These I made copper panels that I engraved and mounted onto the panels and painted.
This one you said was hard to make thin lines. And what medium were you working on?
This is oil and cold wax.
Hard to
So
make.
it's oil paint, and I probably cheated a bit by using less wax. Wax makes thick, wide lines easily, and it's great for abstract work, but I had trouble controlling it.
Symbols are your creation?
No, they are not. They are existing in the world, either carved into rocks, carved into wood, leaves, scratched onto leaves, and also written in clay. A lot of them are written in clay.
Don't you find that your level of education affects your success in this? Because it's beautiful work, and it really is. And I feel like you've done some research to the point where it shows in its quality and its breadth, because especially the cultural stuff. I mean, ethnicity, you're going across different venues, and there's not really a limit.
No. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah.
Stonework on the one right next to you.
This one.
It looks like something I would see out west.
Yeah, the symbols came from out west, and I made this after going out west.
Do you know what some of the symbols are?
I can guess at them only. I have a book that proclaims it can tell you what these symbols mean, like a storybook, and I don't believe it. But we know this is the sun. We don't have any doubt that the one up in the corner is the sun. These are humans. This is a bird symbol of some sort, but the meaning of the bird, we don't know. Is it a godlike bird, or is it an actual bird that they're going to eat? I don't know. And I don't know that people know. It's not common knowledge. This lightning symbol occurs in New Mexico a lot. They have lightning. But it occurs around the entire earth. You'll find those lightning symbols on the long walls that I painted, and they'll be in Europe, they'll be in Asia, they'll be everywhere.
And in some,
so it's a universal human symbol, the zigzag. Yeah.
in some,
You know, a lot of the symbols are like all around the world, like dragons and this and that. And
Dragons, not so much.
Yeah.
Those are more Asian. And Scandinavian. Wherever people connected, they shared their cultures. So it's possible that the Scandinavian dragons and snakes, they don't have snakes, and yet they've got a snake symbol in Norway. Why? Somebody went somewhere and saw snakes, maybe? Or maybe it's or whatever. But yeah, the symbols, understanding them is beyond me, and most people can't agree. Yeah.
Basically bringing some of the symbols to modern art, European art, like Paul Klee.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot like that, where he came from. You're borrowing, since you're CCAD, you know everything about pretty much art through your training.
Well,
so it's not like you're approaching it as a naive or primitive artist, right?
Yeah, I approached it. Yeah, we'll talk about this. This is. If we have time, what time was it? Oh, we're good. Okay, good. I'll whip along here. Yeah, I want to talk about where that goes. The early scripts, and this one is from Arabia. It's from a rock in Arabia, and this guy had carved this message that someone else translated by W.D., which is probably Walid, son of, I do not know, NMR, of the lineage of that, longed for him who had gone away, and then it says peace. And I thought, when you end a conversation with a Muslim, you might say that peace blessing. It's normal to do that. God's blessing on you. And this language is, I think, early Yemen, but they have the same symbols. They've got boats. They've got fish. They've got target shapes. We've got, the store Target is using that same symbol. This one is like a shield. This one is from Egypt because people traveled along the camel trails and brought symbols from Egypt. So this is a big one. It's 4 feet long. There we go. Okay, and I worked in clay and made a series of platters with Stacy Best, and I did the carving. I couldn't throw that big, so he threw, I drew. Egypt on the right and Mayan on the left. The geometric series was which you've seen, was trying to get a sense of control over my life. Being pulled from place to place and losing opportunities, it got to the point where nobody wanted to hire me. They wanted to know my husband's job before I could get a job because they were afraid I'd leave. So I entered this series of geometric drawings and then into collage, more drawings. And this was Singapore at night during Deepavali. Festival of Lights. Everything was lit up, even though not everybody was from India. They still celebrated, so it was quite beautiful at night. It was lit up like day. These are from a slightly darker colorway. I did these after living in the Middle East. Some of them have palm trees, sailboats, mud brick buildings, moons, because we always watched for the moon to end Ramadan. This one is Europe, passing back through. This is more like in Kentucky, when you drive through the Kentucky hills. Again, this is a diptych, same idea. I tried simplifying the designs a bit to see what would happen. You know, how simple could it go? And that's how simple. These, I wanted it to be like the heat of the night, and chose those colors.
You hadn't experienced this, I won't call it trauma, but you actually had to travel and deal with some hardships in your career.
It was mostly, psychological hardships. Physically, not so much.
Art therapy standpoint, we see it play out in beautiful work. But from you as an artist, you had to go through this, and I'm wondering if you pull back and say, if I never experienced this, would I have been able to create such beautiful work? That's a question.
I don't know what my work would be like had I not traveled. But it seems like even a short trip to Indonesia or Australia affected me heavily. So maybe going to Youngstown would do the same, you know. This one was just in a show up at the Works in Newark, and it had to do with when they got the approval for the earthworks up in Newark to be a World Heritage Site, and I was so thrilled. But I was also interested that underneath the ground, you know, underneath these crops and things, there were all these magical alignments of planets and things like that. So, and a few mounds that didn't get plowed over. Did you know Mound Street here in Columbus had a mound that everybody knows? Okay, had a mound at one time, but it got plowed over. Whoops, again, doggone it, sorry. There we go. This was coming into Ohio when we moved here. And they're kind of from a flying into an airplane view and seeing the landscape and the buildings. And the perspective is disturbing to me, to say the least. It's a very flat perspective. Here's another one from the Ohio group. And they're even getting brighter now that I was happy to be moving out of Houston. And this is a series I've just begun working on, these trees. They are 3 by 3 feet. They're a triptych, and they're dealing with going up to Michigan and seeing the trees up there, and then we would drive, and then you couldn't see the end of the trees. I'd never seen that before. So this artwork came about. I've made some 3D prints of trees, and I'm thinking about doing a 3D into 2D series, but I haven't started. You know, these are little maquettes. They're 6 inches by 6. But it's a new idea for me. So future ideas. I'm thinking about the layers of the earth and all the stuff that we've built on top of and all the people that we're walking on and their remnants and their footprints. Ours are on top. So I'm trying to find a way to express that.
Are you going for more grants to get some of the stuff accomplished? More grant money?
I haven't thought about that, but I suppose I could. I need to learn Blender, which is a 3D modeling program, and it's huge. It's very difficult. But I can make molds, and I can make objects like the little trees, or I could make molds to cast glass in, like the cast hand. I want to continue making a series of these tableaus, like over here on the table. And the totems, I don't know if I included. Here's one of the tableaus up close. I worked on this with my friend Nell Gottlieb. Got the skull from the neighbor boy. the glass Nell made, she cast Pat de Verre glass. I made a scroll to go in there. and this with the language on it. And we thought of these kind of like, almost like altars in a way. You know, something where you put special things down. And
Price. What's the price on that piece?
I don't know. I've never tried to sell it. I don't know. I haven't had it in but one show.
Blender is,
And here's a few more of those.
Blender is compatible with the 3D printing.
Yeah, it is a 3D animation or modeling. It's a 3D modeling and animation program.
It print and it'll print 3D.
And it's free, yeah. And you can 3D print with it, yeah. These are 4 more, or 3 more, of the tableaus. But these were all destroyed by one of the floods in Houston, so they don't exist anymore. These are a couple other sculptures I've worked on. I keep working. This one I especially like because when light shines down from the top, these doors and windows light up. And on a good day, the painted part will match the light coming out the window. So that's about 4 feet high. The other one is 16 inches high, has a selenite egg. Here's a couple of those stacked heads, the African stacked heads idea. And these are totems out in the yard. These are probably about a foot tall.
Your place or somewhere?
Yeah, they're at my house.
Those lightweight process?
No, these are ceramic, and they're heavy. Yeah, actually, the one on the right I sold, so I don't have it anymore. This is an abstract painting. I'd like to try a little more. I have never done that, but I did this in Dana's program.
Caustic or acrylic or what?
It's the oil and cold wax. But that was really fun to make, and I haven't made any more. So these are works in progress from here, which some of you might have seen in my class. The titles are pretty self-explanatory, I think. Still working on these two, The Flight to Phoenix and Ohio Hills, The Echoes of the Ancestors, I just finished. I brought it into painting class and worked on it for a while.
So you had listed on there places that you had moved to, but then you also talked about going to places for short periods of time.
Mm-hmm.
So is there any one particular place that you really enjoyed going to, or?
Great question. I liked everywhere we went. Everywhere had something that was important about it. You know, the Arabian desert just blew me away. You could see to the end of the earth every day. There was nothing. And then you go to Singapore, and all you see are millions of people. And that was interesting. And then Norway was fresh and outdoors, and lots of hiking and mountains and fjords. So each place had something to recommend it. Oklahoma was terrific.
So even though you didn't want to move once you got there, that you got wrapped up in the culture?
Had to make the best of it, I think. And
from there, you didn't want to move, but then you get wrapped up.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. That's been my life since 1985. Now I'm here.
Because we live in this divided culture, not just in the United States, but all over the world, I'm finding this very inspirational and maybe helpful in me going forward and how I want to engage everyday life. Because we're taught to look at our differences as a bad thing, and people are humanized, and yet, just from your work, I'm reminded that we all come from the same culture in a way.
Oh, we
have
do.
more in common than we don't, and if people are taught that in schools to like, hey, if you see something different, you know, try to appreciate it, try to find out more about it, and we would be in a better place.
We would be.
Work is very inspiring. When is your next show?
I don't have a new show lined up yet.
Show here at the Cultural Center?
No, I haven't. I applied with a friend, but we did not get accepted. So
Try again, or apply on your own.
I could apply. I could try that. I hadn't thought about that.
Good enough.
Okay, so that was it. Thank you.